story. Our lead story this week is about after show. It is the after show. Hey, but I did want to hit on because
People
I mean, I
travel
think that's
both ways.
actually, those are two common buckets, though. Those are two pretty strong travel themes. There's the trip for slowing down and recuperating, and then there's the trip that's about see things you'll never potentially get to see again.
Yeah.
So, Robert, for some reason, when I opened up the article, the list is not there, just the skiffed recap. I opened it this morning when I read it and it was fine, but now I'm looking at it and I don't see the list to it. Can you
Wait,
read through the top 20 that they read through real quick so that we have a list?
for the booking.com, really?
Yeah.
It should be globalnews.booking.com is the link, I think. That's weird.
No, it wasn't. You gave us the skiffed link.
Are you sure? On live show 219, booking.com predicts the top travel trends?
Yeah, it's weird.
Boy,
yeah, mine changed too. That's strange.
Mine did not open up. Yeah. Mine changed.
Huh. Okay. Let's see.
If you could throw that, because I went over and I opened it up this morning and it was fine.
Okay, I've got it. Yeah, I've got it. And it clicks here. I'm not looking in the email. I'm looking at the link that I copied out of the email. Okay, yeah. So anyway,
booking.com. Throw it up in the chat box so people can have it. But yeah, it was weird. It was like, what's in the article?
Huh. Hang on. Let me do it's hard to walk and chew gum at the same time.
So the rise of the second city traveler. So that was their first insight, and it's the theme of it is people being sensitive to over tourism are going to start setting out to explore cities that normally they wouldn't go after as a primary target.
Oh, hang on, Lauren, you posted a different booking.com link from down in the intermediaries as opposed to the top story. That's
there we
go.
Got it.
There we go. I got it.
I
just posted it. There we
go.
Thank
you. Sorry, that was my bad. Yep, you're right. I grabbed the wrong article. Thank you.
Okay, there we go. Right link in the thing. Yep. Sorry, Ed. Go ahead.
So they're saying that 60% of global travelers would be keen to have access to a service, whether it's an app or a website that recommends destinations where an increase in tourism would have a positive impact on their local community.
Mm-hmm. And I think that joins one of the ones that are done on the list where the people are going to rely more on technology because a lot of people don't know how to discover those places. And so they're going to rely heavier on technology to help them with the
travel agents. Let's not kid ourselves.
Oh, yeah. With travel agents as well, right.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's travel agents do.
That's
good travel agents
really
do a great job of that.
Yeah.
Bad travel agents are actually worse than an OTA. There's a whole spectrum there, right? But the good ones can provide really, really great, great experiences.
They're
probably much better than you can do on your own.
Probably. Their second point with a very cheesy name is TechSpect, the unexpected, where they're saying more travelers will put their key decision-making process even more firmly in the hands of technology because it's overwhelming deciding which corners of the incredible planet to visit. This feels like a point that they really shoehorned into here because it was important.
Right.
Their overarching
exactly. Let's not make it number one. Yeah, don't make it number one. Let's make it number two.
Yeah. And let's hope some travelers read it and agree and start booking with us because of it. And then number 3, slow-mo's the new FOMO. So that's the first thing you talked about, which is, unplugging, relaxing, packing less into a trip. And then, number 4 was the opposite, the all amusive escape.
Yeah. Well, part of slow-mo was also, not necessarily flying over something, but kind of seeing where you're passing through and having a lower carbon footprint, right? Where you're being more of an environmentally conscious sort of thing.
And yet the photo that they used for that was a train. So, just saying.
Well, trains are pretty. Well, I don't know about the environmental impact of putting tracks into a mountain.
Right.
there is.
I guess they're looking at that as sunk costs.
Sunk costs, yes, exactly. And then, but
so
speed of getting there to your point.
And then all amusive is, packing it in, having that, going to destinations that offer an array of different experiences. So, opposite of number 3. Pet friendly, number 5.
That's huge.
Absolutely huge. I would definitely
for the dining restaurant industry as well.
And that in building year in year out, making memories with grand getaways. So saying this is going to be a year that grandparents leave their kids at home but take the grandkids on great trips. So I guess the millennials are being left out in this run. Now it's just their children.
That's right, exactly.
I don't know. I don't know if that's a new concept. I don't even think
That
it's a
isn't.
growing concept. I think it's a persistent. I mean, eventually, like we said, it's the year of mobile. Eventually, it would have been the year of mobile. I think that's the same thing with that statement. Grandparents taking kids away. It's been there. It's been persistently there. I think they keep trying to highlight that there's a growth to it, but it's just
Yeah.
an age cycle. It's not really like, oh my gosh, all of a sudden this is the year that it blows up from what it had been before. I think it's just a perpetual thing that's there.
Yep.
Yeah, and I mean the trends are saying almost 3/4 agree that spending time with their grandkids helps keep them feeling young. Yeah, I think grandparents like to spend time with their grandchildren, sort of thing,
Yeah.
and believe that parents need time alone. It's like, yeah, those are both
But
things,
I
but
don't
you also
think
have
these are-
multi-generational. But
I
you
think the
also
only
have
distinction that
multi-generational.
Yeah, I
Where
think the only
everybody-
distinction I would give to this is that we know that millennials have less income or less money in their pocket at the same age that the baby boomers had at their age. So perhaps this is a fragmentation of saying the grandparents can't flip the bill for the entire family to go do something, so they're going to just take the grandkids this year. I don't know. It might be that. So
Yeah, well, and if the grandkids are young, I mean, what happens a lot is if the parents have to work and things like that, then that's fine, and they can go take them in off-season type things, places where things are less expensive. Especially if they're preschool, before school age, right? They can
Right.
do a lot of different things like that. There's more flexibility. So
yeah. Mr. Ed?
Number 8, fast track to long-term travel as retirement looks set to become less and less.
oh,
about
you
reaching a
skipped
certain
7.
age. Oh,
You
I
skipped
did.
7.
Sorry,
Race to
7.
the reservation.
Oh yes, another one that,
plug.
Booking.com pushed in because of their ownership of OpenTable.
OpenTable. Oh, what a
Um,
coincidence!
yeah.
Oh, really? That just dawned on me.
That is one of the
Wow.
ones I was going to slightly disagree with as well as like,
Yeah.
kind of always been there, not necessarily important.
Here's our top 8, 2 of which are directly in
Right from us.
self-serving.
Well, I do have to say though, my daughter and her husband are coming up for Thanksgiving, right? And we always go and eat at this one restaurant, and a lot of times, you wind up getting a really late time or whatever the case may be. I booked. Actually, it wasn't. These guys changed from OpenTable to Yelp, and I wound up booking it on Yelp in early October for a late November. I mean, I've never booked anything that early before for a restaurant reservation, but yeah, I think you're going to see more
Deserve
stuff.
it.
Yeah, you're going to see that happen more.
Yeah. Mr. Ed?
All right, number 8, fast track to long-term travel as retirement looks to become less and less about reaching a certain age and leaving the workforce, and with increasing numbers actively planning to retire earlier, we'll see this moment become surprisingly synonymous with adventure travel planning. Nearly one quarter. Sorry.
I know we don't have much time before we run out of LinkedIn time, but I do want to go over and point out one thing to this. It seems counterproductive that if the very age category that says they want to retire earlier has less monies at the same age that baby boomers have, and baby boomers are struggling with the fact that longevity is increasing, so they're running out of money by the time they hit 85, how is it that the millennials optimistically feel that they will be able to retire sooner rather than later and still enjoy a lifestyle that they would want to enjoy at that age?
I mean, it fits the stereotype of millennials.
Right.
I mean, it seems kind of counterproductive. It's like
entitlement attached to things that you don't have.
Instant gratification, all those things. Yeah.
Right.
Don't worry, someone will take care of us. Yeah, I don't know. It's going to be a hard struggle for Social Security to even be alive by the time I need it. So I don't know whether or not millennials are going to be walking into anything that has a safety net.
Robert, enjoy your Social Security. You're probably the last of us to get it.
Actually, it's very interesting. I'm in the transition group of Social Security where they're moving up the retirement, the age for it, right? Which is interesting, and and Medicare and things like that as well. And it's just kind of, you just see that going, there was a problem, so they said, hey, the retirement age has to get, or whatever the eligibility.
We're in real
trouble. Older, which is really, really interesting because at some point they're going to start pushing it where it's going to be like, hey, wait a second, folks, that's too late.
Well, that's already happening in Europe. Europe is already very upset that that you have to work until 67. You have to work until 67. That's meant. You don't really get anything until you hit 67. Right. And at least in the States, there's some progression to that. But
they're moving the age up, and then they're also strangely backing, big tobacco advertising to target those 40 plus non-smokers to get them smoking again.
Spin the herd a little
Exactly.
bit, so to speak.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, no,
What's the next one? Meanwhile, back to travel.
that was it. That was the
Oh, yeah.
8 insights, the 8 clever insights of Booking.com's travel trends for 2020.
I would like to step back to the pet friendly one real quick because it is, I think, probably the strongest point out of the ones in my mind that they made. That pet travel is a real thing. It is a real segment to chase and pursue. But how we as an industry are doing it is dysfunctional. Because saying that you're pet friendly but charging $100 non-refundable fee per night.
I think you're seeing that less and less, though, Lauren. I mean, you've been saying that every time we brought up pet friendly over the time we've been doing these shows. You do make that point, and I do agree with the point. But I've seen way more hotels understanding that truly being pet friendly and creating the opportunity for pet owners, pet parents, what do they want to be called?
Owners, parents, whatever, yeah.
To give them more opportunity to not only have their pet with them, but to have experiences with their pet.
Right.
I agree. I do agree with you. I believe the trend is in the right direction.
Yep.
But there are still, it's frustrating from our side of things where when we go to travel and it's the pet-friendly hotels, which are not still as numerous as I would like them to be, nor brand-wise even as numerous.
Maybe you're looking at the wrong hotels, Lauren.
There is possibilities of that as well. And it is true, yes. But in some markets, they have certain control over whether they want to be as well. And then what fees they want to charge. And then there's some that, there's some great hotels that, they charge one flat fee for however long you're going to stay there up to a max of a number of days before they recharge it again. That are very welcoming. It's like, that's great. And they have little pet things and stuff. And those are fun hotels. I mean, you go in there and it's like a puppy factory. It's like dogs and cats everywhere. It's great.
Dogs and cats living together.
Dogs and cats living together. Chaos pandemonium. Thank you for quoting Ghostbusters.
But it's interesting though. If you just do a quick search in Google of best pet hotels or something, guess what comes up at the top? Hotels. There is a local ad for a local place, but then Hotels.com, TripAdvisor, Expedia, all of them have their little top 10 lists of your local area, right? Yeah, so they've done that very well. But then you go into kind of the blogs, right, where they're a little bit more of a focus on that. I think a lot of pet owners, if they start doing that, they'll try to start looking at more reputable, third party.
There's no real clear leader yet.
If they're reputable, they won't be able to tell, right? So,
there's still no real TripAdvisor of the world, so to speak, of pet travel aggregation of information. I mean, there's with Fido and stuff like this that are out there that have some good content. But if you're traveling with your pet, it does require additional levels of research. That they just aren't as free-forming on natural discovery that you normally find. You can find a lot more general information when you're traveling without the need for it than it is when you do have the need for it. And I think to some degree, special needs travelers have the same issues and concerns that they have to have additional layers of research necessary. We don't make it as prevalently easy for them to discover what services are available for what they may need for travel.
Right.
So I think those are two similarities.
I think the reason I put this as a top story, I think these are all excellent areas if a hotel has a website to not necessarily go into incredible detail and build out, incredible depth, but these are, kind of points to bring out for, hey, there are different types of travelers here, either different things to do in the city or different things, and it's not just here's a list of stuff, right? How do you say, hey, if you are doing something for pets, we'll have an area where that you can be found and people can find out everything they need to know, or where they can go to get more information and just go, yeah, this is great. Reassure them that they're making a good choice and you're attentive to what their objective is of their trip, and you're going to try to help them with it.
Right.
What a revolutionary concept.
Right. We're at that point where we're going to lose the LinkedIn audience for this. So if you want to get a conversation with us, you can join us at bit.ly/HDM show 219. If you want to join us with live, if not, you can jump over to Facebook or YouTube. We're continuing the conversation. And if you want to find more about Mr. Robert Cole or Mr. Edward St. John is at flip2.com, flip.to. And Mr. Robert Cole is at rockcheetah.com. And I'm not going to spell rockcheetah because I had time with Flip. All right. With that, gentlemen, since Mr. Ed was so gracious to join early, what is your next favorite topic?
I had a couple that I liked. One was TripAdvisor ponders the platform's future direction and monetization. So that was a good one. The Airbnb contrarian one, I just have a funny quip about, so we can talk about that, and I'll give you my funny quip. And then let's see here, the Accord Expedia one, I actually thought was a pretty good story. Had some good things to talk about. So those were my favorites. So let's do. What do you want? Funny quip or good conversation?
Oh, funny quip, please.
Funny quip. I'll take funny quip for $200, Bob.
So funny. So Skift publishes this article that is got a very clickbait title, which is, did Airbnb's contrarian narrative just get messed up? And the premise of this is, Airbnb has long said that they're different from Booking Holdings and Expedia, and Google and Uber, because they are profitable and they don't have to spend every dime on marketing. And then they go into covering the first quarter financial results.
Which is the worst quarter of the year. Yeah.
Right. So covering that Airbnb doubled its losses to $306 million in the seasonally slow first quarter. And their marketing spend rose 58% to $367 million. So their whole point here is, you guys are more like Expedia than you said you were. And then, you're reading this article and it's like, wow, I guess they are. And then you read update. A source familiar with Airbnb's finances said the company has more than $3 billion in cash on hand, has access to $1 billion credit line, and has been earnings positive since its early days.
And it has, yeah. They've run a very sound company.
Right. So it's like, here's a great story. Everything is different. They're not what they said they were. Oh, wait, they're actually what they said they were. Forget, that we said everything that you just read.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and I think the other point.
That is the most skiftiest Skift article I have read in a long time.
Yeah. Well, and the one other thing to add, excuse me, is, as you start getting all these vacation rentals, intermixed with all the hotel, this is going to get a lot more complicated. There is going to be a lot more promotion and advertising, and who wins? Probably Google.
Right. Well, and let's think this through. So we know they're heading for an IPO next year. Mm-hmm. So what are companies heading to IPO?
Actually, not an IPO, a direct listing. They aren't.
Direct listing. Listing. So they're going direct listing in the next year. And what do companies usually want to do leading up to becoming public? Oh, I know. Show that they can grow at accelerated rates with investment. So
WeWork didn't do that.
Well, good companies would do that. Companies that actually have a legitimate core business. Yeah. Well, no, I mean, this is the thing. Airbnb's contrarian approach is they're running a sound business.
Absolutely.
Right.
Yeah. They have made, probably in terms of looking at startups in this area for everybody else, they have taken direction and kind of adult supervision very, very seriously. I mean, you remember early on they had a couple of things where, trashed apartments and things like that. And they didn't quite, it was kind of almost like what Zuckerberg's doing, right? With a lot of these privacy things, just really like, I don't think you want to handle like that. Either the visuals on this are bad or what you said was off. They had a few little stumbles, but then all of a sudden they kind of got their act together, and they did. And I think a lot of people criticize them.
Speaking of people who've gotten their acts together, Stuart Butler.
Who love Airbnb and feel that there will only be Airbnb in the future with no other form of lodging. Here comes Stuart. So.
Yeah.
But it's taking a little while to get on. But there we go.
Are you at a standing desk?
Yeah, I always have a standing desk, but I'm just actually standing today.
Oh,
wow! You
My back was
standing
giving me
desk
some
as a
grip.
standing desk.
It's all that
That's,
Palm Beach
Actually-
rich cuisine that you had.
He's-
Well, I ate really good in Palm Beach, but not like bad. It was I
Your
was
gout
cultivating
was
for it.
acting up after Palm Beach.
I have zero gout, but no, I
No
actually
gout
use my
about it.
standing desk 99% of the time I stand up to work. And the only times I sit down really are, when, I guess when I'm hungover, which doesn't happen too much anymore.
or when he's firing somebody, that's a real tell when they enter his office.
Yeah, if I'm meeting with people, I tend to sit down, but that's it. But,
There's
99%
only
of the
one true
time I
way
stand up.
there's only one true way to avoid being hungover. Don't stop drinking.
This is true.
Spoken like a true
Yeah.
hospitality veteran.
That's
There
right.
you go. Hey, I have a point of contention with your notes for the email that you sent, Robert, for the show.
About the
Oh,
blog.
I agree
The
with
blob?
everything. I agree with everything you said about the blob, other than the fact there's no stomachs on this show. Because if you look around the room, that I'd say there's a few of us have more than our share of stomachs. So.
Yes.
Yeah, yes.
Well, I thought you were going to claim 719 of the genders. I'm sorry.
Don't label me. I'm good.
Exactly.
I got the privilege of seeing Stuart in person just a few weeks
Yeah,
ago.
I got a big man hug from Lauren.
And I missed out. I wanted to be there, but couldn't do it.
Yeah,
So.
there's very few people in this world make me feel like cozy when they hug me because I'm a big strapping lad, and Lauren is just a giant compared to me. So
Big squeeze hug. It was good
Yeah.
to see him, actually. We had fun. We were at the HS, for those who know, HSMI Curate is HSMI's, I don't know if they call it their pinnacle, but it's their corporate engagement program. And that was at the Breakers in Palm Beach County. And then, Stuart, you were attending your own version of the HSMI.
Marketing Advisory Board,
yeah.
Hey, by the way,
rolling
it
onto the
advised
advisory board.
HSMAI on their marketing that if they're going to post social images of their events that they want people to come to, try to catch pictures where there's a lot of people in it that look engaged and excited. They seem to have caught like the worst times where there's
Yeah.
like half the room isn't there and the half that is there are either looking down at their phones or like dead faced, staring off, looking away from the speaker.
So the one of me picking my nose wasn't.
I looked
exactly
for
what
it.
they should. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll tell you
Wait,
what,
did he
I was very impressed overall. I'm not supposed to talk about what we talked about on the advisory council.
It's like
but
Fight Club.
It
Yeah.
is. It's the first rule. It's really the only rule. But no, I was super impressed with the folks there, the brain trust they have, and the direction that HSMI is going. It was, very, very good.
That's because
Good.
I've left the board and you're now on it. That's probably the shift right there.
Really an upgrade, right?
Or is it just because you
Version
now are
2.0. There
you're
we go.
anchoring that experience in other boards that you're involved in? Potentially,
Yeah, maybe so. Maybe so. I will plead the fifth on that one. But it was right. I mean, those folks from all the major brands were there. You know, the Googles, the Facebooks, the Hiltons, the Marriotts. It was good. And there's a lot of people came to be engaged in really genuinely. What I felt more than anything was there was a desire to help the hospitality industry from a sales
That's
and marketing perspective. So
That's good.
yeah, I
That's
think
good.
a lot of good things will come out of it, and hopefully everyone listening will reap the rewards of that because you're all obviously in the hospitality industry.
Key-
And I'm excited about the conference in January because I think there's some good ideas coming forward. Well,
It
Are
is-
you
it
on
is-
the conference committee?
no, I'm on the thought leadership committee. So there's four. It's broken into four committees. There's the marketing committee, the CHDM committee, the conference committee, and the thought leadership committee. And I think what we're trying to do with the thought leaders is understand what kind of content is going to help move the industry in a positive direction. What are the
Right.
challenges and opportunities coming down the pike, and then how can we as an organization, HSMI, do a better job communicating that out? And I think over the last 5 or so years, the organization has been very one-dimensional in its communication, and I think we're talking about using video and using podcasts and using snippets of content in bite-sized pieces and things like that. So it's lots of good positive things coming out.
Well, that's a
HSMI.
welcoming thought that you're on that committee because that is probably one of the more driving aspects of the board. Once used to be council, was the fact that that's the part that pushes through. The certification process is kind of a maintenance committee in the sense of always keeping it improved and better. But what you're doing is really the vanguard point of saying, hey, think different, be different, present different.
Well,
Yeah.
and Dan Waxman is now the chair of it. So,
And he did a great job, really good job. You know,
yeah,
so
yeah, he's
And
taking it pretty seriously, which is
he
good.
is. Yeah, everyone
I'm
there
glad
was
for that.
really
Yeah.
committed. There was no one there that I felt like didn't want to be there. It was really good.
Excellent.
And I think anyone listening that's not involved with HSMAI, either in the local chapter or the national level, I think I would encourage you to go check it out and see what they have to offer. Because
Well,
it's a good organization.
in answer to Ed's concern, I brought my 360 video camera on a 10-foot pole, which always solicits great visual engagement. People going, what the,
Yeah.
as I wave it around in the midair. So you will get a lot more when I finally post the video, because I just finished doing some video excerpts of it last night for fun while I was drinking rum and coke. So it's going to be creative.
And blurry.
No, the camera was not blurry. I would maybe, but I'm putting it together now. So as it when it goes out, it's going to be kind of interesting because it's like a mini drone. Because being that high up and flying it around, it's kind of like you have a bird's eye view of whatever you want. So around the room, around outside, the venue was spectacular. I mean, the Breakers is just a spectacular property.
Nicest real estate in the state of Florida.
I'll tell you what, it not only is the property immaculate, but the staff was spot on. To the point where I didn't mind spending close to $50 on a salad and one beer at lunch, right? Because they do such a good job. They feel like, okay, that's good.
Yeah.
But they pay attention to the smallest details. If anyone's trying to figure out how to do hospitality right, I would encourage you to visit that property because
they did good.
And if you want to do that without breaking the bank, go in August. You'd be amazed at how inexpensive the Breakers is in August.
Late August,
They run
room.
deals. But they run deals at like $300 a night, includes a round of golf, includes a meal, and the room. Yeah, which is amazing for a hotel that in season is north of 1,000 a night. And
1,700. They can fly at 1,700 even on some of the other rooms. But no, when I rolled up in my motorcycle for the event, it was kind of funny because I pulled up. They're like, "Hey, I don't know where to park." And valet says, "Oh, we can bring you over to valet parking." I says, "I'm not going to let you valet the bike." He says, "No, that's where we have the motorcycle parking." The dude ran beside me as I went to the valet parking lot so he could tell the guy to let the gate open for me to go in and park. I mean, it's like he didn't point and go, over there. He's just like, he ran beside me as I'm riding the bike.
Which is hilarious because Lauren was full on wheeling.
I was gone.
That's funny.
He's a quick runner, damn it. Those valet dudes, man, they're healthy. Anyway,
we were so on point before Stuart showed up.
I'm sorry.
We got through 3 topics in 20 minutes.
Yeah, we hit the LinkedIn mark. I hit the Instagram mark, the story mark. And speaking of which, just off the top, are you guys pushing anything on IGTV, Instagram TV? Are you guys pushing anything up there?
We haven't really dabbled yet, no.
Okay, just curious, because that's the other part. There's an hour limit on that one, but I want to push stuff up on that one as well. Rather than just the storyline stuff, I want to start pushing some content.
Well, you got to put some noise out there so that not everyone thinks the other Lauren Gray owns Instagram TV.
It's going to be a little rough. Well, this one's coming straight up. I'm not going to be using my Instagram handle. I mean, I'll be sharing it on mine, but I'm really going to be pushing it on the hospitality Instagram platform one, which... it's that's the only way I can fight the fact that I have a doppelganger that is way cuter, way more talented, and way more popular than what I could ever possibly be. Million followers.
But she doesn't give nearly as good hugs, Lauren.
Yeah, that's true.
Lauren is using his Instagram feed mostly for like selfies, fashion tips, how-to makeup tutorials.
It's amazing what those filters do to you, too.
I was checking my email this morning at home, and I was on my phone, and I was going through, and Lauren always sends out the email with the admin login for this show. And so I was scrolling down, and my son came up behind me, and as kids inevitably do, he was snooping and seeing what I was looking at. And he was like, "You got an email from Lauren Gray?" And this 13-year-old son, I'm like, yeah, that's not the Lauren Gray you're thinking of.
Oh, you should leave
it.
No,
the answer to that is yes, of course. Yes, I do a show with Lauren.
Yeah, I know Lauren. Yeah, it's sad. So, Mr. Stewart. Well, no, actually, Robertson. We got Mr. Eddie had the chance to pick a couple.
Oh no, Ed had like three of them that he thought were.
We
interesting, which I pretty much agreed with. So.
Oh wow. So, do we want to do California protection or a core next?
How about Accor? What the
Okay.
heck?
Yeah, because the California one's going to be a little bit more of an open discussion because there is some variances to what GDPR does compared to them. But yeah,
So I actually will say that I like how this article was written. It was actually a quality article that opened with a very salient point, which is the hotel online travel agency relationship has always been a tricky one. The two are codependent and must care for each other, but not too much.
Right.
And if that was not like just a perfect lead in to this article, I don't know what else could have been.
Mm-hmm.
And then to talk about, talking about how Expedia's really have shifted to how can they help these hotel groups in the realm of technology, data, or marketing, as a way to be a better partner. Expedia is a very wise company. As someone who has paid very close attention to them throughout their whole existence, I can tell you that they change with the wind better than any company I've ever seen. And
they are heavily data driven, let me tell you.
And the persona of that company shifts very quickly, which is impressive every time they do it, because every time they do it, they are far bigger than the last time they did it.
Yeah. Well, and they've learned from their mistakes because they passed on Booking.com, right? They created Booking.com by going into Europe with a very, North American centric focus, which grossly failed, and they didn't pivot, right? So they've learned from their mistakes, and they use the data to back up their hunches sort of thing, and they test the hell out of it and then go, yeah, we got some pretty good results, let's go. And
which is really impressive because they're getting to be an old company, and they're very large. They've acquired many companies. That's incredibly difficult to do.
Oh, they basically took about 3 years off, and they didn't get the same benefit that Amazon has done with talking to the investment community, going, hey, don't worry about profits, we'll be fine. If you want that, go somewhere else. They got beat up pretty badly and spent hundreds of millions of dollars consolidating all of those platforms, which was not an easy task. But now you look at and you go, wow, they've got some pretty interesting information when people start popping in, because you'll see these things where maybe you have the dates in one application and you go, oh wait, the dates are in there for, you put them into Travelocity, but hey, when you went to Orbitz, they're already pre-populated. How did that happen? Sort of thing. So
it's amazing how a brand can recognize that consumers don't understand what sub-brands they own and can actually take advantage of that.
Right. Yeah, well, and they bought those sub-brands.
In our industry could benefit from that.
I feel like Expedia could do a better job of that, though, because if you go to Travelocity or Orbitz, it's the same template, right? They kind of lost what made each of the platforms unique because it was easier and more efficient.
But look at how they have structured the organization. Those two brands aren't really core brands for them. They're really affiliate brands. They're treating them the same way as they would as affiliates, which at some point, who knows if they'll want to spin them or not, right? They may decide to sell those assets if they can, have. Again,
but let me ask you this, Stuart.
Go like that.
Orbitz is a pretty easy one to identify what made them special. What made Travelocity special?
Yeah, I don't know if there was a unique value proposition other than timing there.
And for infrastructure.
No. There were several things, quite honestly. One was they were first. They beat Expedia out of the gate by about 6 months. Very low volumes. Second is they spent a fortune becoming like $50 million a shot, which at that time was a lot of money, to be the booking engine for AOL and Yahoo, right? And those deals were traffic, right? They basically acquired they had exclusives on those sorts of things, and that's what solidified their
Sure, but from a consumer perspective, they weren't doing anything.
And the rest was it was owned by It was owned and controlled by Sabre, a very air-oriented business, since I was there at that point in time, who really didn't care very much about hotels at all, which was an ignorant, flat-out ignorant approach, and all the strategies and everything that laid out, which showed them that there was a fortune laying there for hotels, they ignored, and here you have the outcome. So they had an opportunity to kill it.
Yeah, I just wonder now, like, how much organic traffic do they get to those sub brands relatively to what they used to get before they kind of bastardized everything.
They got one thing with Travelocity. They got the Gnome. They haven't messed up the Gnome. People love the Gnome.
I hated the Gnome when it came out. I thought it was really stupid. But I think the execution and the original execution was not very good. I don't know if they changed agencies or whatever, but yeah, once they started doing the more Amazing Race type stuff and making it a little bit more humorous and that sort of thing, the execution got a lot better, and people do love the Gnomes, and it made it different, right? Expedia had kind of a suitcase. It was kind of a hard-sided suitcase, which didn't really look like
by the
luggage.
way, if you can win one of those at one of their events, they're excellent suitcases.
Oh, well, there you go.
Yes.
But how often do you see, Orbitz or Travelocity, they're ranking in the top 5 for a competitive keyword? They don't, because they don't have such a unique value proposition that Google recognizes as.
See, and so Orbitz, I think their value proposition was their trip planning for complex travelers.
Yeah.
They were the only OTA that I never felt guilty about booking a full trip on, because their trip planning was so strong.
Yeah. Can I ask you from the Google zero click? No, a better way of saying it, but have you noticed that there hasn't been a lot of OTA answers in those things? I don't know. Maybe you're seeing different questions come up that I'm seeing from those query stuff. But
so who's providing answers? Google themselves?
No, not that hotels are doing it any better. I'm not saying that, but
I'm saying Google themselves. Just
they're Googling themselves. A lot of destinations were sold on doing all that work for Google. So the DMOs invested a lot of money to, have all those answers and to, fill out all the business profiles and take pictures and everything. So that may have sucked up some of the opportunity that the OTAs could have had to take advantage of a low cost path.
Yeah, because I was considering, but now the OTAs aren't showing up into the answer sections as much as is just really some interesting one-offs, ones that have for some reason have a great quantity of content about a particular topic.
I wonder if they're a fuel customer.
Could be, those fuel guys, those fueligans are pretty crazy people.
That you included rate parity in that.
No,
from you to us, it's your list,
right? But that would not be on my list. And I'm gonna probably borrow some ideas from all you guys that contributed. And so this the exercise was, so everyone listening right now actually understands what we're talking about, is I'm speaking at the Direct Booking Summit that TripTease puts on next week, and it's a panel discussion, but it's a little different. We're actually building our perfect kind of marketing mix for driving direct bookings, and where would we invest money? And so there's a list of topics, and they're going to have physical bricks made.
Okay, is that going to stop you, TSA?
Not real, the eco-friendly bricks. I don't get right. And he's
the other guy that's doing it. Really, really wants revenue management tools and products to be paid for by marketing. That was my my take on the list.
That list wasn't his. That was from TripTease compiled the original list.
Oh, that makes even more sense.
Yeah, it comes from another agency similar to that. So I think we're going to be in alignment, and it's similar to what Robert said, which is let's work on the plumbing or the fundamentals first, and then kind of build up the funnel from there. I think we both kind of philosophically agree with that. But I told him I will probably play.
So you're saying you agreed with everything that Robert wrote in his email?
No, I never agree with everything he writes in his email.
Why would anybody ever do that? our House of Mirrors and the gauntlet you have to run through to try to book something, which seems to be the case of some hotels. I don't know.
Mhm.
Maybe they only guess who
I did
really
find it
can
odd.
endure the.
I did find it odd that Ed poo-pooed on the.
He said it was for an independent hotel. What independent hotel suggesting that they
Find one.
A quality booking engine, like maybe Fuel's booking engine, because it's
Right. that they should search for the options once they know what their goals are and what they're trying to improve? And there's no data to support that.
Look at that with Lawrence saying, "Well, what kind of property is it? How many people?"
Yeah. So, anyways,
How else do you do that?
Exactly.
if you want an opinion, you got to be clear on what you're wanting.
He needs to interview the staff and past guests. I
It's a
mean,
thought exercise. It's nothing.
Money on the referral, right? And you just refer them to that. You get your check. Robert never did that. Are pretty mind-numbingly significant.
Every brick's just going to have a consultant on it.
Consulting.
that's an important thing to invest in.
Yeah, I don't think that they have their specific products as lists.
They
You know,
You go, oh, well, that's not really. It's like, well, if the answer is not no, they're fit. They don't like that kind of disloyalty. Sort of thing. We're
Now,
giving
to be
you
fair, perspective consulting firm.
fly me out on the Gulf Stream.
I have to
just
say,
stupid,
on this one. I'm the
Really
same.
stupid from a consulting perspective. I think Lauren,
Yeah.
pretty smart question.
I wonder what they're going to think about Robert's behavior on
Value, how they have competitive advantage, what kind of moats they build, competitive factors of who can go. TripAdvisor.
They're my favorite.
Stuart.
That's laughable. And you guys actually laughed when I said that it was one that I wanted to talk about because you know what I was someone instead of themselves. I mean, because that actually would be a good thing to travelers.
Or Wall Street
Every
push
decision they make has been short-term, looking to try to make short-term gain. But every single decision they've made has pushed their long-term success. He come in to spend money very recently, where he was, on there and talking about it was trying to promote, a trip to Chile. It needs to be more focused.
Want to be
Mm-hmm.
because
That's right.
they have definitely lost.
All right, so I just went to TripAdvisor, and the first thing they're trying to throw down my throat, right? There's Dapper is. That's my ignorance, right? But I've never stayed in a Ritz-Carlton, nor do I have the monetary means to stay in a Ritz-Carlton. You're serving to me.
Advisor, right? Just to see what the hell they were doing, and they're giving me, August 30th to September 2nd, and it's the last time for it. It's like maybe in June. Why are you showing it to me in October? Me too.
My hotel searches on TripAdvisor are.
Sell you stuff, but not in.
You mean you don't stay at the
February?
hotel? Let's do this year.
Why does he have to?
Why do you say I
He
have
has
to?
to lead by example. He's on the marketing.
You know what?
I don't know.
You know what?
No.
I always try to, even if it costs a little bit extra, I always try to use the room block for whatever conference I'm attending.
Wow,
because you are pro hotel.
I am.
You're a good man, Charlie Brown. Okay.
Do this. So I was invited to speak at an event with Stuart, and I'm coming in.
To identify what you guys are talking about, because I am not a big TripAdvisor user. I'm a big TripAdvisor facilitator, but I'm not a personal TripAdvisor user as much as it sounds like you all are. I use it kind of a little bit to the purposes of edit is some research, and when there's plans
Of room count.
I do that.
Absolutely.
It's
but-
they're always dead.
To current dates are real simple functionalities that if you already knew, to Robert's point, he was looking at Galveston historically at a similar time currently, to update that query to being forward into
more than they trust external review sites.
yeah.
And that
Really?
is yes.
Well, maybe not.
Loss. I think it's probably the loss of those independent groups and TripAdvisor's trust, right?
Hilton may have won over a lot of consumers by having all the negative TripAdvisor reviews front and center on us.
It's a quick moment to wrap up of a time scale for those who are watching this with us on.
Stuart,
Wait,
tell
you said
Stuart about your emails. Yeah.
Take the under from small beginnings. It's in Prometheus.
I have noticed something very in the last couple of weeks. My Rock Cheetah subscription on the site, right? To just login for emails, for blog posts, things like that, which the blog hasn't been allowed. But I think it's the HSMAI.
So I might actually have to start getting comments from things like the IAMs, and India's saying, well, it's a little hard on our time schedule to catch this at a good time. So now they're wanting a fragmentation. Plus, I'm also using a new platform with Charlene and Jackie called Social HP, which is that team building social engagement for all their chapters. So now and I am there. Instagram, she does have Lauren Gray, because I have my wife's name, and that's the Instagram that I have is Lauren A. Gray. I'm waiting for the day where I get a big check offer.
Like, please
stop being you.
If that happens, can we pick your new name, please? Can we pick your new name?
Yes.
Okay.
I'm thinking Magnus as a first.
At this point.
I wanted to add one more thing. The TripAdvisor conversation. Can I?
Sorry.
So I really think there's a jump the shark moment with TripAdvisor, and it came in two parts. When they really jumped the shark, because now they're number one by default on any destination.
Right.
Yep.
And I think if used properly, sponsored positions can be valuable to a hotel. Okay, we now know you don't care about the consumer anymore.
Right. Yeah.
No, I agree with you. Unless it was, I think the only benefit that could have come out of that, where there was a possible balance between financial interest and consumer interest, is a very distinctive identification that this was a
gray.
Yeah.
Yeah, almost looks like it's embossed.
Yeah.
Yeah, but to the point.
It's interesting, actually, from the hotel. Now, nobody, I guess,
It's not wrong, though. It's no different than Google selling search. No, it's a combination, meaning they have the most markup. It may mean they have the most inventory. It may mean that based on the data, be the most profitable transaction for them, because you're going to be most likely to take this one.
Right. Yeah, they want the probability of a sale that ultimately, I think, legitimately is the best fit for that customer to be satisfied. And then they also layer in the dimension of, well, wait, how much are we getting paid for this? And then that's where they'll start, sorting the South Strip Travelodge in Vegas or something. If they're going to pay them $100 a booking, it doesn't matter, right? They're just like, no, that's not what those folks are looking for. Right. We just aren't going to. Their standard signer. We require that 3 of our hotels are always listed in the top 10. Mm-hmm. And you're like,
and that adoption and so forth, and still be below
50,000
associated with GDPR as smaller businesses in the European community.
Don't approach data with the critical thing. Often have the thought exercise of what do I need the data for? Who's
not that I'm necessarily a proponent of it. It's the whole data lake argument. Don't fall into that, having that level of capability to analyze things on the addition.
I'm here twice now.
Ed is there twice.
My worst nightmare.
His evil twin. His more evil twin.
Yeah.
He's multiple.
It's weird.
I will say this, the HSMAI understanding and applying, and also the knowledge that causes is that mostly it's marketers' advantage to sell people.
It's not authority-based. Yeah. It's a resource of clarifying
and having an open debate, but being objective about it, not being shocked a roadmap to where they could actually execute the plan.
Rules compared to the GDPR. GDPR has some limitations where they have fine structure to literally crush the business. Mm-hmm. Based upon the
but also if you go to the data source that this article was referencing, there's a data point who are fined by GDPR end up going out of business.
Mm-hmm. Wow,
that's an interesting stat.
That should be a wake up call for anybody.
What's the IRS doing?
There should be that. That's the key, I think the most key, and have it in a source that you can identify to remove it is very hard. It's not access to those, and where is it stored? How is it stored? All these.
And the more advanced ones are they're the Lauren Grays of pushing the envelope.
To your point, Robert, as soon as they maxing purpose of what I did for the first one
happens, that would be interesting.
Yeah. Completely open to just, as your point. Oh, you don't like it under the, this name?
Listen, here's the thing, right? I think if we look at how businesses have justified, right, there's certain regulations related to personnel and non-discrimination and things that there's usually someone in almost every company now over certain size that is a pseudo expert or a full expert in that domain.
That
Stop. Well, guess
it's
what?
rich.
Which is going to be New York's. People, that's going to be interesting.
Something for the course to do, right?
Fair enough.
Yeah, but the number of frivolous suits.
GDPR too. Like I really, people focus on the wrong thing. They get mad at these drive-by lawyers that are trying to get every single person that wants to access that website. There's limitations and common sense should be applied.
I think that part and the accessibility issues. Yes, you do have the compliances.
If you are smart about it, you have documentation to show to the 9 out of 10 is going to shut them up. So bank manager would say the same thing.
Because
There
Facebook
always is.
I mean, Facebook Watch, I've
What's
ever
wrong,
owned
right?
in my life and put it on one burst. I might be able to get up there for a brief moment, but it is an interesting, more so with the Facebook Watch, dedicating a channel availability to it, dedicating content to it. They're really trying to push the YouTube TV.
They actually have an interesting relationship with some college football too. Like they're Conference USA content, Facebook Watch.
Yeah, makes didn't take my pulse and blood pressure.
Maximize engagement, right?
The thing they have that is a slight advantage to YouTube.
I decided to jump in with that. Yeah,
Painfully early adopter.
yeah. So I bleeding edge at best. So I tried. I've done the channels where when Roku opened up channels, and I've done channels for Facebook when they the same thing. They're turning to this with CTV.
The same way Netflix does. They're going to release it weekly.
Bastards.
It depends on right? Some of it.
That's okay.
They can
That's
everybody
okay.
has
Something they gotta do.
TV, and at any given time, a Disney show on that service, it's very smart.
Right. Much.
And
Are you saying that you're going to drop certain channel availabilities on their stuff?
I don't know, dude.
Yeah, it depends.
Because I would say the majority of people that use an Apple TV device will not subscribe to their Apple TV service, even though a lot of people can get it bundled for free for a year or whatever. I don't think
I don't play. It's not interesting.
I'm an Apple TV.
I tried Apple real console quality games. It's all basically iPhone games.
Right. Yeah.
They're going to have to pay a lot of money, and when you look at the money that Amazon's paying for Prime and things like and the shows, I mean, and Netflix, there are billions and billions of dollars getting.
You have a CBS online account, don't you?
Of course.
Content on the streaming that is more expensive than stuff they produce for their own prime time.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
For sure. And that's why people like Disney have spent so much money investing in IP. They went and bought Marvel, they went and bought Star Wars, they went and bought every Fox franchise that existed, because they know that content ultimately is how they're going to win this. We're all schmucks, right? Because we're all sitting here complaining about $100 a month cable bill, so we all cut the cord, and now we're all going to be spending $200 on a bazillion different.
But it's only the stuff I want, Stuart.
Right. I know.
Well,
Disney is so smart. Look at how the majority of Hulu and ESPN all bundled together is like
enough for broadcast shows.
Oh well, you got the Hulu Plus or whatever, the one that's like $40 where you get the local.
Yeah, but I don't watch local channels because I don't watch local news because I don't watch TV for news. I read my news on the internet. Like
probably overspent on that, but again, it's just one of those ridiculous, right? But,
I actually just went through and looked at all my subscriptions and thinned out all.
What were you subscribing to?
The big one was our home security. We were on an old school type of home security. Funny because it triggers booby traps, much like you saw in the original Home Alone.
Yeah.
Yep.
But no,
He's got a wall and he's got snake.
little
And then he deployed.
world of advertised exposure
Oh,
that
yeah.
is out there. I mean, right now there's a platform that is affordable. I say that with the quotes. Say individual hotels, this is a venue you should be doing already and are looking for venues of opportunity. But that disclaimer in mind, exposure to feeder markets at prime time opportunities are a requirement. But in historic,
I literally just needed to pick something you missed, Lauren. So that's
Don't just try it to try it. Have a goal, have a strategy. Try to have a way to measure. That's way funnier than it was. That's awesome.
that
You
just
got the
gave me
visual,
a vision in my head of Stuart
visual?
doing a slap chop style infomercial for one of the Myrtle Beach.
be like a bad Chinese translation movie. Yes, you kill my brother.
Group and generally gated, kind of a gated community where I think the VP of marketing for American Airlines and they just tested it and went, wow, look at this works, because it was super measurable, and then they did a bunch of
Hotels yet have converted over to I'm just going to buy it from a generalized hotels out there that have the capability of internalizing their own content. This is a longer tail thing, but go out into your market and create content. I was running around with you, Stuart. So 22 minutes of engage the guest that this is a familiarization process when they enter into the room. We've done that. And the venue sees that it was a reasonable relationship to have created with you to give you that content because you're driving business to them.
So
Yeah, and I would be cautious to take that 22-minute number to bank, because if that's a mean average, that means for everyone that comes in and doesn't look at anything on the TV, there's someone that watches double. So I think 22 minutes shouldn't be your hard and fast.
Well,
Is your objective, all that stuff. If you're not doing the fun already, right?
Hang on,
There's something-
do not walk down that path.
right, and your objective shouldn't just
It's just fun to do, right?
No.
It really was. It was literally can't even get out of it. I mean, so I go find it,
Right.
and it was just generalized awareness kind of stuff. That's the value of doing it. I didn't even throw on top of it. It's like, well, no. So yeah, those days are gone. Now it's like if you can. Well, we are at
The place, so they don't want it. They don't have the capacity, right, to the next port of call and stuff like. Well, no, but you could. But if you want to go,
I'm going to tell you
do
this.
some interesting
I am
things.
almost willing to guarantee that the majority of people who are looking for content like that are not waiting around on your TV to see if you built content that they find interesting. They're going to go on the internet to get the answer immediately that they're.
Probably. Oh no! What I'm saying is, if you have a channel sitting there where people are coming in, enough things where you can. It's not just a 22-minute thing that repeats every 22 minutes the same every day, but that's a cost, right? That you've got to maintain.
Well,
I
and
don't
actually,
know.
if you're going to build that content, don't just lock it in that silo. Put it on YouTube.
Oh no, absolutely.
Oh, you have to. This is multiple use value proposition for the.
Oh, but then by that time people get to your TV, they've already seen it. So should you put it on the TV?
Yes. The idea, the reason why I bring something.
Well, because they're still, like Stuart said earlier, the industry is still challenged with PCI compliance.
Yeah,
product, right?
absolutely.
They can't
Nothing
see.
says listen to Ring on Fire and have somebody sing with a British accent.
But I'm sorry. You can. If you aren't interested in food and beverage, don't want to do it. That's great. But boy, I think if you can do it properly and have control. No.
About how they should use this data and communicate with their stakeholders. The importance of their role in the general ecosystem of travel. And they instantly went to, no, we need to tell them that, we're taking credit for this. And I said, no, actually, what you should say is we played a role in this much of have large buckets in the subsects of that. So this is the revenue you were present in and you played a role in. And, the resistance and
Right thing to do. That's what Nobody in the industry does. Certainly, may have touched it. I'm going to take attribute.
Even if I have multiple
don't have the
products with
data.
them, each individual product.
Before we had you, and after we had you, year over year, and we're flat line.
Mm-hmm.
So
shows me the value of that $500.
The example we gave them that like really woke them up was something that probably happens. And they Google search 2 days later to get back to that website.
Mhm.
So do you want to claim having the conversation of how they should feel about it? What you should say early in the
exchange was set. He was the only one on the board, and he was the only one that made the point.
That's right. Because you just started educated on that topic. So.
That's right, Gordon. Hey, out of some conversation that came over the past couple of days, it is seeming like the conversation of Robert is so funny to hear these guys even talking about this for months as to what happened in
3
July.
years.
At least 4 years.
No, I've been saying, I've been
When they said this about true or not, but not the funny part, the part that they pointed to, which was uniquely different.
Oh, that happens. Action is going to be.
When do people spend less money when there's uncertainty? And when is there uncertainty? When the whole direction of the country is maybe about to change.
Is about to turn completely around.
Yeah.
Well, no, think back to huge years, not minors, but major election
economic production.
Yeah, correct. Yeah. For sure. So, with alarm, but a lot of people talked about the folks from Visa that were presenting a downturn, unless everyone keeps saying there's going to be a downturn and people stop spending money, because there isn't a catalyst this time. So,
right.
But that's what we're pointing to. It's a political motivation to this, that it's uncertainty. The uncertainty principle is going to be
we have done if you believed in the uncertainty.
Season fire sale capability of corporate engagement, involvement, mergers, acquisitions, and lack of legality oversight is whatever consumer sentiment is, because the boss is telling the employees it's all good. We're still selling the same stuff. Okay, because
they don't have really much room to adjust anymore. So it's all kind of borrowing from now. Let's keep things up to we'll drive. What's the catalyst, right? I don't think anything is going to miss the new inventory. Yeah,
it's going to be a supply and demand adjustment, right?
Right. Well, what they're saying is because of that levels, you cannot sustain
ADRs. Okay, what keeps shrinking? It's still right. Occupancy is down about 0.1% over the last. Normally week 39-ish, and it kind of depends a little bit, but week 39 is the peak ADR one for the year. It didn't make it this year. It was off, versus 2018 by about
look at all
70 cents, which is not great. I mean, normally
it's a public company.
17 in 2018 it was a 130 STR stuff. I just look at it.
You're a violation of I didn't share that with you, and you're taking data and manipulating it.
See things and patterns that a lot of people aren't noticing in the SDR report. So why do you not repackage that and either blog about it or sell?
He's not affiliated. He's not hard selling. I mean, he's not selling.
I do monetize the data. I work with actually two firms. One is a kind of a public equity analyst group, and another one is a little bit
corporate travel.
I've not looked at the data that way.
You're asking is my predictor of the.
I don't generally, because that's the vibrancy of. So
I was believing what you
tailing off. I would say that might be more of like a consumer confidence type thing. That would be kind of a leading indicator, and then maybe you have a little lag on consumer confidence in terms of being absorbed by business. But
but replace the leisure demand. With giving us this data, so I'll share elsewhere. But they said that basically when this happens, corp is receding faster than the receding of leisure. That leisure is the trend developer to what corporate does. That if you see leisure trend, leisure value to replace
fast pullback was not a standard economic pullback. It was a collapsing financial system.
Right.
So you can't use any data from that. And then the last big pullback before that was a unforeseen, act of terrorism, and and then before that it was the .com bubble. When's the last time we had a normal economic cooling period?
Right. Exactly.
Well, I can tell you when it was. It was when the economy in general was completely different. It wasn't nearly as globalized as it is today. It did not have social media. It did not have most of the things we have today. So I challenge anyone who there is no quality data that you can trust on the situation that it doesn't.
There are lodging econometrics, Oxford stuff without going, don't use that.
I bet Stuart has the same problem when it comes to when clients pop up going, I just got my static whatever report from whatever platform. We went down in traffic or XYZ or calls or this or that from the same previous period. And it's like, please don't get period over period or worse than what we were in, because you can't keep going up. There are months where you dip or plateau or down because demand cycles are different.
Well, I think it's a lot more nuanced than that, Lauren. I don't think you can look at December Easter as earlier or later.
Right.
I agree with Ed in terms of there's a lot of people predicting the downturn because of things in the past that whatever is different than why at the bar with our families. The more likely it is to become a
He was up there. Remain calm.
Everybody calm. We all need to remain calm.
All right, it feels like running out of gas here.
I hate the Animal House movie, just for the record.
Filmed by Robert Bull.
But yes, that movie screwed up the toga party. So
okay, no, that's all right. The movie
actually, the toga party started in the 50s, I believe.
Formal time on the show.
But thank you.
Where to go, sir?
Rockcheetah.com or at Robert K. Cole on social media. Yeah.
And I think you're dedicating yourself to
our stuff beyond just doing the podcast. So we stay tuned for more to come from Fuel.
Where is it they can find you and your podcast, sir?
Yeah. So the money is there because we from time to time produce different downloads like Leisure Travel. We're just up in our marketing game a little bit. Wow. But if you really want to learn more about Fuel in general, the best place is on this. I'll be drinking either way, whether you buy
whether you buy one or you run someone.
At flip.to, you can find me at Edward St. Ange. You can learn about Flip2 on the Fuel podcast. Thanks for that, Stuart.
Credo, that's what we call you on the.
Hey, you know what? I've
been, which is one less thing to walk around the workout. Wow, they're talking.